Okay, what's up guys? Cody here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the best runes slash masteries for supports for Season 8. So there's pretty much going to be two main runes that we're going to be looking at here for the keystones. We're going to have Summon Airy for your shield and healing supports, and we're going to be having Guardian for the most part for our tank supports. So Airy gives our shields a bigger bonus and makes our damage onto enemy champions better. So pretty much it's useful for every utility support in the game. For the next rune, more than likely, Ultimate Hat is the best thing that you can get here. Reducing your ultimate cooldown is pretty much the best thing that you can get. Like, Mana Flow Band isn't really useful. Nullifying Orb is for laning by yourself really than anything else. After that, we're going to want to get Transcendence. The more cooldown reduction we can get, the better. If you already know that you're going to be building max CDR, then you can potentially get Celerity if you want to, which will increase your movement speed, which can be something that's really useful on supports, especially with the new Janna rework that gives her extra move speed. So either Celerity or Transcendence is pretty good. Absolute Focus is pretty bad just because you need to be above that 70% threshold, and that's just not something that's really feasible. For the final item, Water Walking is the best thing that we can get here. Just more movement speed in general. As for what to get next, more than likely we're going to go down the inspiration tree. This is kind of the utility tree here with what runes we can get. But we're definitely going to want Cosmic Insight as one of our runes from here. 5% cooldown reduction on like everything is just really strong. And then I think the next thing, either you get Biscuits for a better early game, or you get Magical Footwear. I think Magical Footwear is better. Magical Footwear will give you free boots at 10 minutes, which can be a bit annoying. I feel like being unable to buy boots before 10 minutes is somewhat frustrating, especially if you get an early lead. But it'll give you more movement speed later on. And it's free. It's pretty much a free 350 gold since you get boots for 300, and then the upgrade is 50 less. So it's a free 350 gold and with additional move speed. So this is probably what you'll be running on most everyone. That's like Sona, Lulu, Janna, Soraka. This is pretty good. Then for champions like Braum, Alistar, Leona, Thresh, Guardian is pretty good. And we're going to want to take either Font of Life or Demolish, depending upon how you're doing in laning phase. Font of Life is like Bond of Stone, so that's useful. And then Demolish is if you really want to burst down towers. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about that. Perseverance can be decent, but it's not really worth it. So then next thing that we're going to be looking at is the conditioning rune here is probably better than Mirror Shell or Iron Skin. The fact that you can just get free shit is amazing. And unless like the enemy is full on AD or has a lot of heavy AP, just conditioning is better in general. And then for the last one, it's kind of a toss-up. Revitalize can be somewhat useful, but for the most part, I think the Overgrowth is going to be better just because you're going to be sitting in lane and you're going to be getting just minions killed around you. And yeah, second win's kind of just eh. Then going into the inspiration tree again. pretty much the same stuff here works for like every support. This Cosmic Insight Magical Footwear works for everyone. You could also potentially get a Celestial Body over Cosmic Insight. However, I don't really think that's useful. Approach Velocity could also be useful if you want to be roaming around a lot. But aside from that, it's kind of eh. Another thing I haven't touched on is Futures Market. Futures Market, I think, could be potentially a good support rune. But it's really only for snowballing. And you lose out on something else. So that's your drawback. Now, the other rune that I feel like champions such as Leona or Thresh could run would be Aftershock. This is something that you're mostly going to see on tank junglers. However, I feel like it can be useful for the champions that I named because you can go because you're gonna. It's pretty much similar to what Courage would be, with the exception that it doesn't give you a shield; it gives you resistances instead. So I feel like Aftershock could be really useful for an aggressive support, as Guardian is really just a Targon's, or not a Targon's, a Face of the Mountain. So, a few other things to touch on. You can potentially go down the Inspiration tree and take Summoner Specialist, as this is going to give you 50% Summoner Spell cooldown reduction. This is just to make it so that you can just flash more often and you can be a bit more versatile. However, it's not really something that's going to probably be that useful compared to other stuff. But I mean, if you were going to go down here, you would take like this type of page. Then we're going with this, we would be going aggressive Summoner Specialist. So we would want to either go down Sorcery page and take something like this, or potentially Celerity. We want to get like movement speed, or we want to get like extra damage or cooldown reduction, or we want to go down the Domination tree and take something like maybe Sudden Impact and Zombie Ward. Something like this could be potentially useful. Kind of want to have fun and mess around with that. And then if you want to be really aggressive, Electrocute could come in handy. Take Zombie Ward. The Eyeball collection is kind of useless. Ghost Poros aren't really useful on supports, I feel like. So you could take Zombie Ward. You could take Sudden Impact or Cheap Shot, depending upon who you're playing. It'll deal, you get some bonus true damage against enemy champions, or you get 5% additional damage against champions. Cheap Shot's probably better. And then you can get Ingenious Hunter, which will make your item cooldowns lower, which will give you activatable item cooldown reduction, or you could get Relentless Hunter. That'll help you run around fast. And then you could go into the Inspiration tree again, or potentially go into the Sorcery tree, or the Resolve tree for some health. And then if you're playing a champion like Zyra, I think Arcane Comet could be really useful. You take Arcane Comet, you probably want Ultimate Hat or maybe Mana Flow Band, but Mana Flow Band only activates every 60 seconds, which is kind of, it's not really all that useful. I feel like the ability to have your ultimate up sooner is probably better. However, if you're trying to go for a better early game before level 6, then Mana Flow Band could come in handy. And then from here, this is the only time where I would consider maybe taking Absolute Focus. But once again, I still have you as a support. What the odds that you're going to be above the 70% health threshold is iffy. Just because if you get into one fight that you and your the enemy trade down bot lane, let's say you guys come out 50-50 and you've got 50% health, and this is useless now. However, Transcendence is also useless until you hit level 10. So Celerity could be useful. It's just kind of a toss-up for these, I feel like. If I was to go with something, I'd go with Celerity. Or potentially Transcendence, as I would be building more aggressive items that don't give me cooldown reduction, and cooldown reduction is pretty nice. And then Scorch is obviously what we're gonna get here. Any ability to do extra damage is great. And then from here, same thing as usual. Going down Inspiration Tree, taking this works out nicely. You can also go down here. Nah. If you wanted some extra health, you could go down here. You could take Demolish, could be useful for getting towers, and then potentially Overgrow for Second Wind could be useful. Second Wind could actually be useful if you take it with Absolute Focus. So that could be potentially useful, but I think, you know, for the most part, as a support, if you're not going down for as a support, you're most likely not going down the Inspiration Tree to begin with, because it's not really a great tree for keystone purposes. Then you're probably just everyone on support is probably just gonna run Magical Footwork, Cosmic Insight. And so yeah. When I say the inspiration isn't good for keystone purposes, just the fact some of their specialists just isn't that good. Like, in a sense, it's like, yeah, I get the ability to change my summoner spell, but it doesn't, like, what's the bonus of having the ability to change summoner spell over, you know, any other keystone that you could get here, just on any champion? I feel like, at least for like early game purposes, you're gonna want something better. And as of right now, I feel like games are more decided in the early mid game than they are later on, and I don't really feel like anyone really needs the ability to change their summoners. So yeah, that's gonna be it for what I think is going to be the best runes for supports for Season 8. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe if you did, and see you on the next one. Thanks.